Quick question, when was the last time an annual performance review truly inspired you or anyone you know? Think about it. For many, these reviews are dreaded moments of judgment, filled with fear, blame and often vague labels. And while companies aim to boost performance, these outdated methods frequently do the opposite, leaving people disengaged, frustrated and questioning their purpose. Quiet quitting, internal resignation and a lack of connection, these aren't just buzzwords. They are the reality in too many workplaces today. And here's the tough question. Does performance really improve when employees are just trying to survive? Or are we stuck in a cycle of compliance masquerading as progress? But what if there's a better way? What if performance management could inspire intrinsic motivation instead of fear? What if employees approach their growth with passion and purpose, saw their manager as a trusted coach and willingly left the comfort zone because they believed in the journey? In this tutorial, we'll explore exactly that. Together, we will uncover how empathy and a growth mindset can transform the way we think about performance, building trust, fostering psychological safety, and unlocking the potential for real growth. Let's dive in. We will cover 3 key ideas that can transform the way you approach performance management. First, traditional versus modern performance management. We look at how outdated, fear-based methods compare to a more modern, human-centered approach and why the shift is essential. Second, the power of empathic connections. Discover how genuine empathy builds trust and psychological safety, creating stronger, more connected teams. Third, the impact of growth mindset in the learning zone. Learn how fostering a growth mindset encourages employees to embrace challenges, learn and grow in an environment where it's safe to take risks. By the end, you will have the practical ideas to build trust, inspire growth and truly elevate the performance in your team. Before we dive into transforming performance management, it's important to understand what traditional approaches involve and how they affect employees in their daily work. As we dig deeper into traditional performance management, it's clear that many organizations rely on a set of familiar tools and processes, some helpful, others less so. Let's quickly run through the key methods typically used in these systems. Annual performance reviews. Formal evaluations conducted once a year to assess an employee's overall performance. Goal setting. Establishing specific targets employees are expected to meet within a defined period. Rating scales. Using numerical or descriptive scales to rate employee performance against set criteria. 360-degree feedback. Collecting performance feedback from multiple sources including peers, managers and sometimes customers. Performance appraisals. Detailed assessments that summarize employee achievements and areas needing improvement. Self-assessment. Employees evaluate their own performance, often as a part of the appraisal process. Performance improvement plans, PIP. A formal plan designed to help underperforming employees improve within a set time frame. Behaviorally anchored rating scales, bars. Rating scales tied to specific behaviors as examples of performance levels. Management by objectives, MBO. Performance management based on setting and reviewing agreed upon objectives. Checklists. Lists of tasks or competencies used to verify if certain standards or goals have been met. Let's take a closer look at one of the most common and still controversial tools in traditional performance management, the annual performance review. Often, employees don't receive honest ongoing feedback throughout the year. Then, suddenly, at the end of the cycle, they face a single meeting where their manager delivers feedback that can feel like a surprise. Managers are usually required to fit ratings into a forced distribution, a bell curve, categorizing employees as outstanding, performing, developing or unsatisfactory. These ratings are then reviewed and approved by top management or HR before being communicated back to the employee. For many employees, this process feels abrupt and disconnected from their day-to-day experience. At the same time, leaders often feel uncomfortable with this rigid system. When the final judgment doesn't align with the employee's own view, frustration and disengagement can easily follow. These kinds of rigid judgments didn't just appear out of nowhere, they have deep roots in the industrial age. Back then, bosses saw employees more like cogs in a machine than as people. A striking example is Henry Ford's introduction of the 5-a-day wage in 1914, which was revolutionary at the time, more than doubling what most workers earned. But this generous pay came with strict conditions. Ford's sociological department closely monitored workers' personal lives, including home visits, to check that employees lived according to his moral and behavioral standards. This meant abstaining from alcohol, keeping a clean home and generally conforming to what Ford considered proper conduct. Only by meeting these expectations could workers qualify for the full wage. If we pause and ask ourselves what emotions were most common in that area, the answer is clear: fear. Fear of losing this coveted job, fear of not living up to the strict standards, fear of making mistakes. This fear-driven environment shaped how performance was managed and left little room for trust, growth, or genuine connection. Looking back at these traditional practices, one question stands out. Were these systems designed to cultivate intrinsic motivation or simply enforce obedience? When we examine the industrial age and its methods, the answer becomes clear. Performance management back then relied heavily on rules, control, and compliance. The goal wasn't to inspire passion or growth, but to ensure workers followed orders, stayed productive, and met targets. But here's the big question. Can obedience alone drive true performance, innovation, or engagement? Despite the widespread use of traditional performance management systems, a staggering 67% of the workforce remains disengaged, according to Gallup. Think about that. 2 out of 3 employees are either checked out or just going through the motions at work. If these systems were truly effective, shouldn't we see higher levels of engagement, innovation, and commitment? Clearly, something isn't adding up. Let's unpack why these methods often fail to deliver the results they promise. In his book Drive, Daniel Pink highlights 2 groundbreaking experiments by psychologists Karl Duncker and Sam Glucksberg that reveal how traditional reward systems can backfire, especially for tasks requiring creativity. Dunker's candle problem, 1945. Participants were given a candle, a box of thumbtacks, and a book of matches. The challenge? Fix the candle to a corkwork wall so that the wax wouldn't drop onto the table. Many struggled to find the creative solution, emptying the box, tacking it to the wall, placing the candle inside the box and lighting it. The reason? They saw the box only as a container for the tacks, not as a potential tool. When the experiment was adjusted so that the tacks were placed outside the box, participants found the solution much faster. This simple change reframed their perception, leading to a mechanical task without much creativity needed. Glucksberg's variation, 1962. Glucksberg repeated the candle problem with 2 groups. One group had no incentives, while the other was offered a financial reward for solving the problem quickly. The results were striking. When the box was presented with the text inside, the group with no reward performed significantly better, solving the problem on average 3.5 minutes faster than the reward group. The pressure of monetary incentives appeared to block their creative thinking. However, when the texts were placed outside the box, making the task more mechanical and straightforward, the reward group performed faster. The lesson? Monetary rewards work well for tasks that are purely mechanical, where the solution is obvious and the focus is on execution. This mirrors the industrial age, where routine, repetitive tasks dominated. But when even basic cognitive skills are required, such as creative problem solving, monetary rewards can hinder performance. The pressure to perform activates stress responses, which block the brain's creative and problem solving centers. Implications for traditional performance management. This disconnect reveals a key flaw in traditional systems that rely on extrinsic motivators like bonuses, rankings, and pressure. These systems might work for tasks that resemble assembly line work, but for today's knowledge-driven economy, where innovation and adaptability are crucial, they often backfire. The conclusion is clear. To unlock true performance, we need approaches that foster intrinsic motivation, psychological safety, and creativity, not just compliance or obedience. We just explored how traditional reward systems can block creativity and hinder performance. But what happens when this same tendency to restrict and label extends to how we view and categorize people? Another critical barrier to performance and collaboration emerges when we place people into boxes, defining them as us versus them. This divisive mindset not only stifles creativity, but also deeply impacts our ability to empathize and build meaningful connections. In 2018, neuroscientist David Eagleman and his team conducted a groundbreaking study to investigate how group allegiance affects empathy. Using MRI scans, they measured neural responses as participants observed images of 6 hands. Each hand was labeled with a different affiliation: Jew, Christian, Muslim, Hindu, atheist, or Scientologist. One of the hands was stabbed with a needle. This triggered activation in the brain's pain matrix, showing an empathic neural response. But here's the striking finding. Participants exhibited a much stronger neural reaction when harm was inflicted on someone from their own group. When a hand belonging to someone from an outgroup was stabbed, the empathic response significantly diminished, even for atheists, who reacted more compassionately toward other atheists than individuals from any religious group. This study reveals a profound truth. It's not the specific group itself that determines our empathy, but rather whether we perceive someone as belonging to us or them. And it doesn't stop at religion. These divisions can stem from anything: profession, gender, wealth, or even sports affiliations. The more we fail to appreciate differences, the more we create a sense of separation. Labeling others, dismissing their individuality, or pigeonholing them as other erodes empathy, fosters disconnection, and inevitably weakens relationships. When applied to performance management, this tendency to label and categorize creates even more challenges. Ratings and labels can foster a sense of superiority, pushing managers and peers to unconsciously focus on things that confirm the initial judgment. This reinforces the walls of the boxes, increasing disconnection and making it far more difficult to help employees with genuine performance improvement. The key takeaway? If we want real growth and collaboration, we need to tear down these walls and approach performance with empathy and a mindset that values individuality and connection. Now that we've seen how deeply disconnection and labeling impact empathy and performance, it's clear that there's a huge gap between what science understands, what education teaches, and what business actually practices. In the next section, we'll explore how to bridge these worlds, connecting scientific insights, educational principles, and business realities to create a more effective, empathetic approach to performance management. Having explored the pitfalls of traditional performance management and the barriers created by labeling and disconnection, it's time to shift our focus. Part 1b will guide us through the journey from outdated methods to a modern approach, one that embraces empathy, growth, and real connection to unlock true potential. So, how do you know if you are dealing with an outdated management style? Often, it's that sinking feeling you get when you walk into your boss's office, expecting rude behavior, micromanagement, judgment, blame, pressure, or plain ignorance. That gut reaction is a clear sign something is off. When leadership relies on autocratic, command and control styles, the message is often clear. You need to develop and improve. You are not good enough. This kind of judgment, blame and pressure breeds fear, fosters a fixed mindset and labels mistakes as unacceptable. Employees, like plants deprived of care, wither instead of blossoming and thriving. When leaders rely on judgment and control, it creates fear and disconnection. No surprise in that, according to Gallup, 75% of employees don't quit their jobs, they quit their bosses. This shows just how critical leadership style is for engagement and performance. Building empathy and a thriving environment doesn't have to be complicated. It can start with something as simple as how we give feedback. If you stand opposite the employee when giving feedback, it sends the message, I'm the boss, you are the problem. This creates fear instead of openness, shutting down the willingness to improve and grow. Now, let's contrast it with standing next to the employee instead of opposite them. This simple shift sends a powerful message. I'm not against you, we are in this together. It shows that the person isn't the problem, but the problem itself is what we'll tackle as a team. When people feel this connection, they open up, the willingness to improve grows, not from fear, but from genuine motivation. We've seen how command and control leadership breeds blame, fear, and ultimately drives employees away. So, what's the alternative? It starts with humility and self-reflection, asking ourselves as leaders, what can I change? By focusing on improving our own leadership through empathy and creating a supportive environment, we pave the way for employees to truly thrive. And this leads us to the heart of modern leadership, the leader as a coach. The main task is to unlock the employee's potential, encouraging them to step out of their comfort zone and embrace learning and growth. To unlock potential and foster growth, one thing is absolutely essential: trust between leader and employee. Without trust, feedback is met with suspicion and resistance. But when trust is present, feedback is not only accepted, it's embraced. Trust lays the foundation, but there's another crucial ingredient for growth: radical candor, as author Kim Scott puts it. Radical candor means caring deeply about someone while also challenging them directly. It's about being honest, sharing weak points without sugarcoating or resorting to what Scott calls ruinous empathy, where we are reliantly polite and avoid uncomfortable truths to spare feelings. Why is this so important? Because only with genuine, constructive honesty can employees see their blind spots, overcome them, and truly grow. Trust and radical candor aren't just tools, they are the key ingredients for building connection. And connection is what truly enables performance. It fosters psychological safety, allowing employees to embrace feedback, grow, and give their best in a supportive environment. At its core, the boss-employee relationship is a two-way street. It's not just about giving instructions or meeting expectations. It's about mutual understanding and respect. To truly thrive, it's essential to consider the needs of both sides. And this is where empathy becomes absolutely crucial. Part 2. The power of empathic connections. In the following deep dive, we will uncover what empathy truly means and discover a communication framework that helps us foster empathy once we have the intrinsic will and attitude to embrace it. Empathy isn't just a nice to have, it's a critical driver of workplace loyalty and success. Did you know that 92% of employees say they would be more likely to stay at their job if their bosses showed more empathy? This isn't just about being kind, it's about creating a culture where people feel seen, heard and valued. When leaders truly listen and respond with empathy, they build trust, boost morale and unlock potential like never before. Empathy transforms work from a daily grind into a meaningful experience that people want to be part of. Before we dive deeper, it's essential to clear up a common misconception. Empathy is not the same as sympathy. Understanding this difference is key to building genuine empathic connections. Brené Brown draws a powerful distinction between sympathy and empathy. Sympathy is about recognizing someone's pain and often feeling pity or sorrow for their struggle. While sympathy offers comfort and reinforces their perspective, it can unintentionally deepen their sadness or victim mentality. This validation of their pain, though well-meaning, often leaves their real needs unmet, keeping them stuck and resistant to change. Empathy, on the other hand, goes far beyond sympathy. It means truly understanding another person's feelings, either because we have experienced something similar or because we can genuinely put ourselves in their shoes. With empathy, we communicate that the person is not alone. We share their emotions without judgment. This is not about giving advice, consolation or pity. Instead, empathy is the ability to see the world through their eyes and convey that understanding clearly. When empathy is shown, it acknowledges the person's feelings and needs, allowing negative emotions to ease. This opens the door for relief, openness to the solutions and forward progress. Think of it like this. When we feel intense anger, it's like a balloon filling with air, swelling with tension. Judgment or sympathy acts like adding more air, keeping the balloon inflated and resistant to solutions. Empathy, however, gently releases that air. When someone truly understands our feelings and needs, the balloon deflates, we feel relief, become receptive, and are ready to find meaningful solutions. To truly build empathic connections, having the right mindset is crucial. But mindset alone isn't enough. We also need a clear method and communication framework to guide us. Without structure, even the best intentions can fall short. That's why we turn now to a style that helps us avoid judgment and verbal aggression, Nonviolent Communication, NVC. This approach encourages mutual understanding and win-win solutions. Developed by Marshall B. Rosenberg and taught by the Center of Nonviolent Communication, NVC is not just a method but a way of living based on trust, empathy and genuine connection. It's not about manipulating or enforcing obedience, but about fostering authentic understanding. What sets NVC apart from violent communication VC is its focus on connection rather than conflict. VC often involves blame, defensiveness and an us versus them mindset, triggering guilt, shame and anger. NVC instead views others as whole individuals with their own feelings and needs, promoting empathy, equality and reciprocity. At the heart of NVC is a shift from you perspective, where we judge others' actions, to an I perspective, focusing on our own feelings and unmet needs. This shift is expressed through 4 simple but powerful steps: observation, feelings, needs and requests. We will dive deeper into each of these steps in the next slides. Step 1. Observation. Similar to recording with a video camera, NVC strives for a process-oriented and precise representation of the situation without including interpretations and generalized statements. We describe the aspects of a situation as objectively as possible by focusing on what we can directly observe with our senses, be it what we see, hear, smell, feel or taste. It is crucial that we strictly separate these observations from our own judgments and evaluations. The overarching aim is to create a common basis for dialogue and at the same time gain clarity for ourselves. In VC, on the other hand, analysis and moral judgments such as "this is wrong" or "you are unreliable", as well as static generalizations like "always", "never", "rarely", "often", "once again" tend to be used. Those judgments can lead to a feeling of superiority, which in turn creates an emotional distance to the other person. Upon further observation, the actions of the other person are then usually interpreted in such a way that the original judgment is confirmed. This reinforces the feeling of superiority once again, and metaphorically speaking, we erect an increasingly high emotional wall around the individual in question. The focus shifts from the person themselves to the label we have assigned to them. The result is a growing disconnect and a significant lack of empathy. To illustrate the difference between VC and NVC, let's look at an incident in David and Sabrina's relationship. David had promised his girlfriend Sabrina that he would vacuum the floor, but he didn't do so. Sabrina could now react with the following 2 statements. Example VC, judgments. "You always fail to meet your obligations." Example NVC, observation. "When I got home, I realized that the floor was still full of dust and dirt." Step 2. Feelings. These are sincere feelings that must be clearly distinguished from the so-called feeling words of VC. Feeling words may appear to express genuine feelings, but are more likely to be thoughts and accusations, such as, "I feel like you're completely disinterested." They also often describe our personal perception of what someone is doing to us. For example, "I feel like I'm not being taken seriously and I feel betrayed." The problem with these thoughts from VC is that they frequently come across as reproaches or attacks, which lead to distancing and alienation. Real feelings of NVC, on the other hand, serve as an indicator of whether our needs are being met. By opening up and sharing our true feelings, we can speak authentically about ourselves. This approach has a de-escalating effect as it reveals our vulnerability. It also helps others to understand us better and encourages them to empathize with our situation. Example VC, thoughts. "I have the feeling that you don't take your household duties seriously." Example NVC, feelings. "I feel sad and frustrated." Step 3, needs. We humans all have similar universal needs that can be categorized, for example, as food, safety, affection, understanding, empathy, creativity, pleasure, belonging, independence, and purpose. Our daily actions are designed to fulfill one or more of these needs. In NVC, the emphasis is on understanding the needs of the other person before making concrete suggestions for action. By communicating openly about our wishes and interests, we make ourselves more understandable and increase the chances of finding a mutually beneficial solution. In contrast, VC is aimed at the immediate implementation of a strategy in the form of a very concrete measure. This approach often leads to conflict, as the focus is on an inflexible position rather than first developing a common understanding of the underlying interests. Example VC, strategy. "You must vacuum the floor immediately." Example NVC, need. "I need reliability in our agreements and order in our household." Step 4, requests. They represent a strategy for how we would prefer to see our needs met. With NVC requests, we stay open to the possibility of receiving a no without this having detrimental consequences for our counterpart. In the case of a no, we can remain persistent but try to understand the reasons that prevent the other party from saying yes. It is important to frame requests in clear, positive and actionable language while respecting the other person's need for autonomy. Such an approach increases the likelihood that we will achieve our goals in the long term. In contrast, through its demands and threats, VC aims to force immediate fulfillment of wishes, which is usually met with resistance from the other person. This can lead to actions and situations that the other party dislikes to such an extent that negative consequences in the future cannot be ruled out. Example VC, demand. "If you don't vacuum now, I won't go to the football match with you on Saturday." Example NVC, request. "Could you vacuum the floor once we have made this deal? If this is not an option for you, please let me know directly. Does this work for you?" Summarized example of NVC. Observation instead of judgments. "When I got home, I realized that the floor was still full of dust and dirt." Feelings instead of thoughts. "I feel sad and frustrated." Needs instead of strategies. "I need reliability in our agreements and order in our household." Requests instead of demands. "Could you vacuum the floor once we've made this deal? If this is not an option for you, please let me know directly. Does this work for you?" Now that we understand the core principles of nonviolent communication, let's explore its practical applications. NVC operates through 3 general modes: self-expression, empathetic listening, and self-empathy, each vital for nurturing genuine connection. Area 1. Self-expression. Expressing anger, sharing frustration honestly without blame. Expressing regret, owning mistakes with sincerity and openness. Saying no, setting clear boundaries respectfully. Expressing appreciation, communicating gratitude authentically. Area 2. Listening with empathy. First aid empathy, offering immediate understanding to soothe emotional pain. Handling a verbal attack, responding calmly to aggression by staying connected to needs. Area 3. Self-empathy. Self-empathy, clarity for yourself. Recognizing and honoring your own feelings and needs to respond with kindness. When teaching the NVC methodology, I found it most effective in this context to use common work-related examples. This makes it easier to apply the skills directly to everyday situations in the workplace. While mastering the 4-step NVC process is essential, it's equally important to keep your communication genuine and relatable. Here's a crucial tip to avoid a common pitfall. A common mistake in applying NVC is practicing mechanical or robotic communication. While the 4-step framework offers a solid structure, rigidly following it can sometimes feel unnatural and distant. Naturalness is key to building empathy. To keep NVC communication familiar and engaging, consider these hints. Occasionally skip one of the 4 steps depending on the context. For example, omit the feeling step. Replace the word need with I would like to for a softer, more relatable tone. For example, instead of because reliability is important to me, say because I would like us to be reliable in our relationship. When expressing needs, use full sentences with context for clarity. For example, instead of I need acceptance, say I need acceptance especially when I talk to people about different religions. Empathy isn't just a soft skill, it's a strategic advantage. When teams and leaders truly connect on an emotional level, the results speak for themselves. Let's explore the measurable benefits that empathic connections bring to the workplace. Employees who experience empathic connection at work report a 31% increase in job satisfaction, leading to a more positive organizational culture and lower turnover rates. Empathic communication within teams is associated with a 28% enhancement in conflict resolution, enabling quicker and more effective problem solving. Workplaces that foster empathic relationships see a 29% rise in employee engagement, resulting in higher levels of motivation and discretionary effort. Teams with strong empathic connections demonstrate a 24% improvement in overall team performance, as trust and collaboration are significantly enhanced. Organizations that prioritize empathy in leadership and management experience a 26% increase in employee loyalty, creating a more resilient and committed workforce. Having established a strong foundation through empathic connection, it's now time to focus on growth. Embracing a growth mindset within the learning zone empowers us to turn challenges into opportunities and keep evolving both personally and professionally. Before we challenge people to step outside their comfort zones and address their weaknesses, we must lay the groundwork. Without the foundation of empathic connection and trust, like we discussed earlier, feedback risks being seen as criticism or attack rather than an opportunity for growth. In addition to trust and empathy, psychological safety is essential. When employees feel safe to speak up, take risks and make mistakes without fear of punishment or humiliation, they gain the courage to leave their comfort zones and truly grow. How leaders foster psychological safety? Encourage open dialogue. Create a culture where questions, concerns and dissenting opinions are welcomed and valued. Model vulnerability. Leaders who openly acknowledge their own mistakes and uncertainties set the tone for a safe and honest environment. Provide supportive feedback. Focus feedback on behaviors and growth opportunities rather than personal criticism, reinforcing that mistakes are part of learning. With trust, empathy and psychological safety firmly established, we can now focus on the heart of personal and professional development, fostering a growth mindset. Unlike a fixed mindset, which views abilities as static, a growth mindset embraces challenges and learning as pathways to improvement. Dr. Hartweg, a renowned psychologist, studied how people respond to failure through a series of puzzles given to school children. Some children met the challenges enthusiastically, enjoying the learning process and facing difficulties without discouragement. Instead of seeing their efforts as failures, they viewed them as opportunities to grow. Dweck calls this a growth mindset. It reflects the belief that qualities and abilities can be developed through effort and perseverance. People with a growth mindset embrace challenges, see effort as part to mastery, persist through setbacks, learn from criticism, and draw inspiration from other successes. Continuous learning motivates them and forms the foundation for skill development and excellence. Ultimately, this mindset enables wholehearted dedication to ongoing improvement. When targets aren't met, failure is often seen as purely negative, carrying psychological consequences like stress or depression. But what if we reframe failure as an opportunity instead of a setback? If we stop viewing failure as a defeat and start seeing it as a chance to learn and grow, the mental burden eases. Facing failure gives us valuable insights, sharpens our skills, and provides a clearer overview of the situation. This perspective shifts our focus to continuous development. By combining an optimistic growth mindset with realism, we can better navigate challenges in both our professional and personal lives, ultimately maturing and progressing. A growth mindset thrives when employees are encouraged to step out of their comfort zones and embrace new challenges. Leaders play a pivotal role in guiding this process, ensuring the right balance between challenge and support. Within the comfort zone, employees operate in a familiar environment, carrying out tasks that they are already accustomed to. On the other hand, the learning zone encompasses novel tasks and challenges, which may induce a certain level of discomfort as employees expand their abilities and capabilities. They are getting stretched. Once leaving the comfort zone, it's also essential for leaders to ensure the employees do not fall into the panic zone. The panic zone is a state characterized by excessive pressure and stress, leading to mental blockages. By striking a balance between encouraging employees to venture beyond their comfort zone and providing them with the necessary support, supervisors can foster a culture of growth and excellence. This approach empowers individuals to challenge themselves, acquire new skills, and achieve higher levels of performance while feeling supported and motivated along the way. Leaving the comfort zone and stepping into the learning zone can feel challenging. It often comes with discomfort, strain, and a sense of slowing down. This is natural. Growth rarely feels smooth in the moment. But this process is like pulling back a slingshot. The initial strain represents the effort of learning new skills, gaining insights, and seeing the bigger picture. Once those elements come together, the release propels us forward, accelerating growth and enabling us to advance faster than before. The key is embracing this temporary discomfort, knowing that it sets the stage for exponential progress. Growth isn't a one-time event, it's a continuous cycle. To truly evolve, we must embrace a lifelong process of learning and recovery, creating what can be thought of as development loops. Just as muscles grow through cycles of stress and recovery, our personal and professional growth requires us to step into the learning zone and then return to the comfort zone. Stress phase in the learning zone. In this phase, we challenge ourselves by embracing new tasks or facing unexpected obstacles. This is where learning happens, though it often involves discomfort. Recovery phase in the comfort zone. After the stretch, returning to the comfort zone is crucial. Here, we recharge and anchor the lessons we've learned by reinforcing new habits and routines. Sometimes, this process might feel like going in circles. However, with every loop, we gain more and more insights, acquire new skills and grow, each time reaching new heights. Over time, parts of the stretch zone become the new comfort zone, showcasing resilience and progress. Repeating challenges allows us to deeply internalize lessons and build stronger foundations. Supervisors must recognize the importance of patience. True growth isn't rush, and enduring the struggle is where transformation happens. By embracing development loops, we can build resilience, internalize effective principles, and gradually expand our capabilities, ensuring sustainable growth and long-term success. Leaving the comfort zone and stepping into the learning zone often comes with discomfort, moments of doubt, frustration, and even fear. This discomfort is a natural part of growth, but it can be challenging for employees to navigate. To help employees persevere and thrive during these moments, leaders can provide 4 essential painkillers. Purpose. Connecting challenges to a meaningful purpose helps employees see the bigger picture. When individuals understand why they are being stretched and how their efforts contribute to a larger goal, it becomes easier to endure discomfort and stay motivated. Focus. Overwhelm can amplify discomfort. Leaders can alleviate this by helping employees prioritize tasks and focus on manageable steps. A clear path forward reduces confusion and builds confidence, making challenges feel more achievable. Support. Empathetic leadership is crucial during times of strain. Offering guidance, being available for questions, and providing reassurance can help employees feel they are not alone in their journey. The knowledge that someone believes in their abilities boosts resilience. Recognition. Acknowledging progress, no matter how small, reinforces positive behaviors and builds momentum. Celebrating milestones and efforts along the way helps employees feel valued and keeps their spirits high, even during tough moments. By providing purpose, focus, support, and recognition, leaders can transform discomfort into an empowering experience, enabling employees to grow and succeed with confidence. The power of a growth mindset extends far beyond individual development. It reshapes how teams and organizations thrive. When employees and leaders alike embrace the belief that abilities can grow through effort and learning, the ripple effects are transformative. Employees who adopt a growth mindset are up to 47% more likely to embrace challenges as opportunities, fostering greater innovation and resilience in problem solving. Teams that cultivate a growth mindset culture demonstrate approximately 34% improvement in adaptability and agility, enabling quicker responses to change and enhanced performance. Organizations promoting a growth mindset report up to 49% increase in employee engagement as staff feel more empowered to learn, take risks, and develop professionally. Managers who encourage a growth mindset in their teams foster a 30 to 35% rise in learning agility, leading to faster skill acquisition and improved individual performance. Companies with a growth mindset environment experience approximately 25% lower employee turnover as employees feel supported in their growth and career progression. The journey to creating a flourishing organizational environment is much like an extraordinary natural phenomenon seen in the Atacama Desert. Every 5 to 10 years, this driest non-polar desert in the world, a seemingly barren and lifeless landscape, experiences a rare event. In 2015, near the town of Vallenar, sudden rainfall transformed the desert into a breathtaking purple sea of flowers, a true miracle of nature. This remarkable transformation serves as a powerful metaphor for human potential. Just as the Atacama holds dormant seeds waiting for the right conditions to bloom, so too do people carry latent talents and passions within them. The role of modern performance management. By fostering empathic connections, promoting psychological safety, and cultivating a growth mindset, Leaders create the conditions where these hidden abilities can emerge and thrive. With modern performance management, not only can these skills be awakened, but they can also be developed further, leading to extraordinary results for individuals and organizations alike. The right environment doesn't just nurture talent, it allows individuals to shine, turning potential into performance and fostering a culture where everyone can grow and excel. Just like the desert in bloom, a thriving environment unlocks beauty and brilliance where it was least expected. Transitioning from theory to practice is essential for making meaningful changes in your personal life, team dynamics and organizational culture. Whether you're just embarking on this journey or looking to deepen your impact, there are tailored solutions to support every level of transformation. Books, your self-guided entry point. High-performing organization, an inspiring and practical handbook for leaders and employees to foster a culture of engagement, effectiveness and empathy within their workplace. High performance. This book provides an in-depth exploration of the 8 core principles of high-performing teams, detailing why they matter and how to develop them. Leadership Annual Planner, a companion workbook for the systematic realization of essential leadership tasks promoting full engagement, effectiveness and empathy. These books are accessible on Amazon and through direct links available on the Mindset Challenger website. To dive even deeper into empathy and workplace relationships, you can check out the online course Mastering Workplace Relationships. It's available on Udemy with the access link also on the Mindset Challenger website. And if you're ready to take the next step, whether for yourself, your team or your entire organization, we are here to support the journey. You can choose from different formats depending on what fits best. A powerful keynote speech to spark inspiration. A hands-on 2-day workshop to implement modern performance management. A personalized one-to-one coaching to support leaders on their journey. Modern performance management is not just theory. I've applied these principles myself. As a former site director, head of operational excellence and now founder of the Mindset Challenger, I've experienced firsthand the transformative impact of leading with empathy and a growth mindset. These principles have not only shaped my leadership approach but also contributed to earning an Excellence Award. But don't just take my word for it. Explore real feedback and testimonials from participants of workshops, coaching sessions and courses on the Mindset Challenger website. In today's workplace, true performance management goes beyond rigid reviews and outdated practices. It's about creating a thriving environment where employees feel valued, connected and motivated to grow. We've explored 3 key topics that redefine what performance management can be. Traditional versus modern performance management. Shifting from outdated systems to a human-centered approach that fosters engagement and intrinsic motivation. Empathy and nonviolent communication. Building trust and psychological safety through empathic connections reinforced by the principles of nonviolent communication to create stronger and more cohesive teams. Growth mindset in the learning zone. Encouraging employees to step out of their comfort zone into the learning zone where challenges lead to growth and resilience. By embracing these principles, we can reimagine performance management, not as a process to endure, but as a journey that inspires, empowers and drives meaningful progress. Let's make it happen.